I'm Gabby.
And I'm Shanna.
And we're 27 Travels.
And this is going to be a little life update Q&A video.
We have not done one of these in like a while. Sometimes we just don't think to do these. So if you want to see more of these, you have to let us know because it is fun and kind of easy for us to film, but we just like are always traveling. So we never think of doing a video like this.
But I thought because it was like, I mean, it's still January while we're filming this. I think like today's like the last day of January. Yeah, today's the last day of January. So it's like a good, you know, maybe like fresh start to the year, little life update Q&A.
And January has literally been like a year in itself, so
it feels
that
like
makes total
January
sense.
never ends.
Fresh start for February.
Also, from the last video that you guys saw, Gabby and I have new hair. Don't know if you can tell.
Haircuts.
But we got haircuts in between last video and this one. So if you're like, whoa, that was like drastic changes, guys. There was kind of a drastic change.
Which honestly, like, thank God,
Much
because
needed.
we were both so depressed with our hair and so over it. It was so needed. It took us so long to get a hair appointment, and I just feel like a whole new person.
We put a question box on our Instagram stories a few days ago, and a bunch of you guys sent in questions, so we're gonna answer some of those in this video, and hopefully you'll learn a little bit more about us and what's going on in our lives. Okay, so the first question we got was, have you guys done a video on how you met?
Yes, we did do a video on how we've met. I don't know what year we filmed it in. Shanna can like insert that on the screen, and if you want to watch that, you can go and watch it. But I do feel like even though we have filmed that video before, we should probably do like a newer version of it. Obviously, the story of how we met doesn't change, but it's just fun to like kind of look back at it, I feel
But we'll
like.
give you like a quick little, like maybe like 2-second like idea of how we met. That way, if you want to go and like hear more details in the other video, we can link it down below. Basically, Gabby and I met at New York City Pride in 2015 at a lesbian bar in New York City called Cubbyhole.
A lot of other things happened
Yeah.
to like make us actually start dating, but I feel like I won't share all of that because you might as well go and watch that other video, and maybe we can do like a revisit of that video soon or something, like another like how we met kind of video. Also, the question about like how we got together reminds me that it was just our 9-year anniversary, and from the day we met,
it's almost 10 years.
It's almost 10 years since what we're saying. Like, it's been almost 10 years since we met at a lesbian bar at Pride. That is absolutely crazy.
So the next question we got was, how do you pitch companies you want to work with? So I feel like it's, you know, as influencers, there's like billions of different ways that you can make money or work with companies.
I wouldn't say that we're like always pitching to people. Like, if we have an idea that we really like, or we're going on a trip somewhere, like say we're going to Fiji and we want to reach out to people, then we might pitch ideas to them. But if not, things either come to us organically or kind of go through our manager, and only like a certain percentage of things are us actually pitching. But like obviously in the beginning of doing what we did, we had to reach out to people so much more to kind of like get those kind of opportunities. But it's something that like kind of changes over time, and you just pitch as much as you need to or want to, depending on how busy your life is. I will say, like, rereading this question, I'm thinking it's a little more like, how do you do it versus like, how do we do it?
Oh yeah, maybe that's a better idea.
I think I'm gonna like do a part 2 on this, which is that if you were going to reach out to a brand, you would want to have an idea, and obviously what Shanna's saying, make it be a brand that you really would want to work with. You don't want to just like work with anybody. You want like it to align with yourself and like what you're putting out there, I guess. And you could literally reach out to that brand in a multitude of different ways. You could meet those people in real life if that actually happens for you. Like
maybe there was an event or something, and
you're at an event and you see that person, and then you could kind of pitch, you could email, you could DM those people. So there's lots of different ways. So I hope that answers that question a little bit. You would want to like have an idea, explain who you are and what you want to do and what your idea is and how you could work together, and that's kind of how you would go about pitching.
Next question is, what is your favorite song?
Okay, that's so hard. I feel like my favorite song is always changing, but like I love the band MGMT, so because I heard them in the car yesterday, I'm gonna say Little Dark Age by MGMT. I feel like that song is like, just makes so much sense right now. So that will be my favorite song at this exact moment.
I feel like everyone knows that I am a huge Taylor Swift fan. I'm a massive Swiftie. I've loved Taylor Swift since I was in high school, which is a really long time ago. It was when she was in her country era, let's just say that. But I don't know if I had to pick like my favorite song, it's so hard to pick a favorite Taylor song, but I do have a favorite song that's not a Taylor Swift song, and it's Goodbye Earl by the Chicks. That's always like my go-to, like I want to sing in a karaoke whenever it comes on. I'm just like screaming at the top of my lungs. I just love that song. Okay, the next question is, how do you be yourself? I feel like that's a hard one to answer because I think,
hard question.
Yeah, I think it's like, obviously it'd be different for everyone. I feel like for me, I always like was doing things that I like to do whether or not other people cared about it. Like even in high school, like I was very obsessed with like certain TV shows and stuff. And like I had friends online who were like also obsessed with those TV shows. So like no one else in my high school back then was doing any of that, but I just did it because like I genuinely liked it. And I feel like there is a certain sense of like maybe you have to like try not to care what other people think, even though that is like so difficult and so hard. But like I think you just need to like do the things that you genuinely like to do, because that's what's gonna make you the most happy.
I think it is hard though, because it is like you just have to be okay with whatever it is that you like and who you are. And I do think sometimes that can take time. Like for example, I didn't come out until I was like 18 or 19, so obviously I wasn't completely being myself prior to that time period. Maybe in other ways I was, but like I think part of life is like making mistakes and finding yourself and just being okay with whoever you are. And as you grow and get older, you always learn new things about yourself. Like you learn like, oh, maybe I like this and maybe I don't like that, and maybe I handle this situation differently than I'd want to, so maybe I want to work on that. But I just think that's all part of being yourself. Like just come to terms with who you are and embrace all the different parts of yourself, whether they're positive or negative, and that it's just so important. You'll just feel so much better when you're truly being yourself.
Trends change, people change their mind, things change. Like just, if you genuinely like something, just do it, because that will literally make you the most happy. If you want to wear something and you're like worried like what are other people gonna say, just wear it.
Yeah,
because it's gonna make you happy if you do, and that's the only thing that matters. This question's interesting. This person said, were you guys scared or nervous at first when you first started dating? Like, was it awkward?
Yes.
Yes, it's
oh
always,
my God.
It's always awkward.
Dating is so awkward.
It's always awkward.
You never know how the other person feels. You're always like, what is this gonna be like? Like, you know, like Shanna and I had met before our first date, but I still was like so nervous. Like, what if this is not gonna be what I think it's gonna be? And like, what if us like texting, it's not the same in real life or whatever.
Yeah, I feel like no matter what, whenever you like first start dating someone or you go on a first date, it's gonna be awkward because you don't know that person, and you're like, you as a person are probably trying to like impress them and put on like your best self. So like you are not necessarily being your normal self, which is normally every day you don't try to impress people, you're just like being yourself, you know? So I think no matter what, it's gonna be awkward, it's gonna be weird. Like Gabby and I met, and then 6 months later was actually our first date, so like a huge gap of time had passed. So like, yeah, we met, we talked, whatever, but then 6 months happened, and then we went on our first date, and we were like, is this gonna be the same as it was when we first met? You know when it's the right person when like, even if you feel awkward at first, like when you're actually like talking to them or hanging out with them or spending time with them, like you don't feel awkward anymore. Yeah. I feel like that's definitely what happened with us.
Specifically, remember like our second date, you and I were, I feel like I was so nervous, and now like knowing you this long, I know that you were so nervous that like we went to a restaurant and like we ate like an appetizer and like neither of us finished it. Like we were that nervous.
We like shared an appetizer and like neither of us finished it because like we couldn't eat because we were like both so nervous.
And we were both like talking and chatting and like flirting or whatever, and it was just so like, but I was that nervous that like I barely ate anything. And I wasn't even like, I'm hungry. No, I was just like, I'm having the best date.
Literally.
But I'm so nervous because like you do want, like if you really like someone, for them to obviously like you back, and you know it's especially, we went on an amazing first date, so I was like nervous for our next few dates, and like,
is it gonna live up to it, or like things like that.
Like if something isn't working, you're figuring that out, but if something is working, you're also like figuring out like, okay, what does this mean? Like, you know, like you're like learning more about each other every time you're on a date.
Okay, this person asked, what places in the US are safe for a queer woman to travel to? So I feel like obviously this is coming because of the current political climate, which everyone should definitely be thinking about when they're traveling, especially if you're a queer person. But I feel like we have been to so many places in the US that we have loved, and we have felt that we're very queer friendly. I think the best resource for that would be to check out our blog, like 27travels.com, because we have like a whole USA section on there, and we've talked about like, you know, if we think that place is queer friendly or not in there specifically. But I think we can give maybe just like a few here, like some of our favorite places.
Let me say something else before we make like a little list of our favorites. If you're watching this video now, obviously things in the US are rapidly changing, and opinions on whether something is safe or not is going to be changing as time passes. So if you're watching this video in a year, it's probably a little different than when we filmed it. So I think just like take this with a grain of salt. I think always check before you go somewhere and be sure. Like obviously you can also DM us on like Instagram, and we will happily answer your question, even if you're watching this video 3 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, 4 years from now. Obviously places are going to change and things are always going to be different. Like other places are going to become more safe while other places become less safe. This is just like part of being in the queer community.
Yeah, and I think safety is also relative to like you as a person. So we could think something's safe and you could go and have a different experience and think it's not, and that is totally okay. We're just gonna give you like our opinion based on like our experiences and like how we felt traveling to some of these places in the US. But like I said, I think our travel blog has like everywhere we've been in the US, so you can definitely go there if you want like a little bit more information than what we're gonna say now, basically. For me, just like the Northeast in general, like Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Boston, Vermont, New York,
where we live.
yeah, like New Hampshire, Maine, like all of those places to us have always felt like very queer friendly, like where we've seen lots of like rainbow pride flags, or we've seen other queer couples walking around, and they just tend to be more progressive in general. So every time we go there, we always have an amazing time. We always see queer businesses, we always support them, and we always see other queer people there as well. So I would say for me, the Northeast.
I'll say a little bit more specifically about the Northeast, because obviously if you're watching this video to get tips on like where exactly to go, sometimes it's not like a whole state, but certain places. So I think like obviously New York State, New York, we live there, we feel really safe here. P-Town, Massachusetts is amazing. It's like a queer haven. So if you haven't been there, you have to go there. You will feel amazing there. We always love being in Philadelphia. We've been to Burlington, Vermont a bunch of times and absolutely love it there. It's awesome and you should definitely go.
We were just recently in Palm Springs. If you watched our, like, you know, 2 YouTube videos ago, Palm Springs is also like another like queer haven. We just love it there. It's so amazing. It's so beautiful. And the weather is good year round. So if you're looking for a vacation, you could always go there.
Yeah, we've been to Portland, Oregon. I feel like would be a good one to mention in this.
I think we'll just leave a link to like our USA like places that we've been to on our blog, because I think there's probably so many more that we just are not thinking of.
So many.
Right now. But, okay, this one's interesting. This person said, how do you split chores when you're home?
Oh my God. Actually, I feel like we really split chores. Like, I don't know what other people do. I haven't asked other couples, like, what do you do?
In terms of like, you know, like cleaning types of chores, I prefer to do it myself because I'm very particular about how I like things done. So like I will vacuum, I will like pick and put stuff away, things like that. But like we kind of alternate like who does the dishes, I guess.
I feel like in a general sense, Shanna likes to clean more and I like to cook more. So even though Shanna can cook and I can clean, really that doesn't happen very often. It's more like Shanna cleans and I cook and like, I don't know.
And then we,
that kind
yeah,
of stuff.
and then we like alternate the dishes basically like every other time. So like I just did them before filming this video. So next time is Gabby's turn, and then the time after that'll be my turn.
Yeah, it used to be just like random, but it's like we used to just randomly do the dishes, but like I think alternating kind of works out better for us. Like still if you don't want to do it, I would, or vice versa, but just makes more sense and it makes it less like, oh, who's gonna do it now? But like, okay, it's kind of your turn.
Like in terms of like running errands, like a lot of times like Gabby will go like do the walking kind of errands.
Maybe I do
done.
more errands.
And then if there's a driving errand, obviously I'm the only one who drives. So like we usually will like drive together to do the errand or whatnot.
We're good at splitting tasks.
Yeah, I think we're good at
like
like knowing who's stronger at something or who likes doing something and who doesn't like doing something.
Yeah. Also, in any relationship, I do think it makes more sense for like you to do the task that you actually like to do instead of doing a task that makes you like miserable. Of course, there's certain tasks that I don't like doing, but I can do them. And if you don't want to do them, I would. But I think in our relationship, it works better just to like do the things that each of us like doing.
And I think that like in terms of like work, like we also pretty evenly split our workload as well. So I think that
like, we're the same way, I think, in every aspect.
Yeah, of our relationship and work career. That was an interesting question. No one ever asked us that before.
And if you're interested in knowing more of how that works, like in terms of our business, ask that another time and we'd be happy to answer.
Okay, the next one is, how's your kitty doing today?
He's good. He's had a day. He followed me around multiple different rooms. And he was all lovey-dovey, and then he bit my arm, so he's all over the place.
But yeah, Rascal's actually 15 now, which is crazy because I feel like he doesn't act like a 15-year-old cat.
No.
But he acts like he's like 3, but he's 15.
And like knowing that he's 15 years old and I've had him for 15 years just like freaks me out.
Yeah,
like,
it's like
really.
Time is like going.
Also because I know like cats don't live for 100 years, so I obviously know that 15 is older, which is like a different thing to think about. I feel like you think about this with like grandparents sometimes. I'm like, oh, you know, 90's up there. Like it's just like something in your mind that you know. So I know that about Rascal, so it just sometimes gets in my head and I'm like, oh, but I love every moment we spend with him. He's the best cat ever. He's so sweet and just like so smart.
Okay, the next one is a question that we get all the time, and it's literally like, what are your travel plans for the year? Where are you traveling to next? Questions like that. We get those like all the time.
These questions are always so hard for us because Shanna and I are actually like very spontaneous when it comes to travel, and it's partially because we are actually very spontaneous when it comes to travel, and the other part is that our jobs mean that things happen really quickly and kind of last minute.
But we also
so
like,
you don't know.
And we also can't plan like too far in advance because if a work trip, for example, comes up, we want to be able to go and not have to like cancel something or move things around, whatnot. So We do plan a lot of our travel like last minute. Like basically at the beginning of January, besides Palm Springs, we didn't have any trips for the rest of the year at that point, and now we have like 5 trips.
3. Really, we have 3 that are like official. I feel like we can just say those. There's some things that are like up in the air, but I never want to say it in case it doesn't happen.
Right, yeah.
So I feel like we could tell you the 3 trips that we 100% have coming up soon.
Yeah, so the first trip is we are going upstate New York again. We were actually there last weekend for a job, but we didn't film anything for YouTube while we were there. But we're going to a different part of upstate New York in the Catskill like region, and we're going for Pride Ski Week, which will be so fun.
Which we're so excited about because we've never done a gay ski week before, and actually we've only ever done like 2 like ski trips before, and we've only ever skied once, and we had a lot of fun doing it. So I think just going and doing like a gay ski week is gonna be really, really a cool experience that like we haven't done yet.
And then literally immediately after that trip, like the same day that trip ends, we have to come back to like New York City and go to the airport because then we're going to Thailand. We actually said that in our last vlog, so I think you can go there to like hear a little bit more about that. But we're really excited because we've always wanted to go to Thailand and we have never gone before.
Yes, and it's like a whole entire week in Thailand, which doesn't seem super long, but we've never been to Thailand, so we're just excited to like be going on this trip. This was a work opportunity that came up, so I don't know, if you would have told me in like December, oh, you're gonna go to Thailand in 2025, I would have been like,
shook to my core.
I would have been like, you're lying. But we're going, so we're really excited about it because we've always wanted to go to Thailand.
And then the next trip that we know for sure is in March. We are going to Fiji. Gabby randomly mentioned Fiji earlier in this video, but we actually went to an event in like September.
And we ironically were vlogging that day, so it's in a vlog, like this experience happening.
Yeah, this experience is like in a vlog somewhere in like September times. But we were at an event for Fiji tourism, and we go to these kinds of events a lot in New York just because of like the industry that we work in. And at this particular event, the guy from Fiji Airways, the marketing director or whatever, gave everyone who was at that event free flights to Fiji.
Like, not kidding,
from
that
anywhere
happened
in the world.
It was real.
Crazy. So we had to like follow up and like, you know, get all the information, but we ended up getting like a voucher to redeem free flights from New York to Fiji. Well, not from New York to Fiji, from like Dallas to Fiji, but we have to get ourselves from New York to Dallas ourselves. But anyway, so we have the flights to Fiji, but we don't have anything else booked yet. We need to figure all that out, but that's going to be really hard because we have other trips before that.
We're working
on it, basically. Okay, the next question is, how long have you lived in your apartment in New York City, and how do you afford it?
Maybe almost like 7 years now, I want to say.
Yeah,
which is crazy because I would never have thought we'd be in any apartment for 7 years. I don't know.
Yeah, so we actually moved in together like after we were like together for like a year and a half, like almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years. We were like in no rush to like move in together super fast. Like
because we already had like our lives kind of like set at that point.
Yeah.
So
and like neither of us wanted to like rush into living together. I feel like you had your roommates and you had a great roommate situation, so there was no reason for you to leave. And like I loved living with my dad. There was no issues there, so we were just like, okay, like we'll move in when it feels like the right time. And I feel like around like a year and a half to 2 years felt like the right time for us. We just like were browsing, you know?
And we love our apartment so much because like for New York City, like we actually have like a lot of space. Our layout is just a little weird. I think we have to do like an updated apartment tour because I remember we did one like maybe like 5 years ago, and even though we're still in the same apartment, like we have new furniture and things like that. Of course, over time we have changed some things in our apartment, but the layout is still the same. So we have like a railroad style apartment, which means that like we have 2 doors at each end of our apartment, and you can enter on both doors, but we really only enter on one door, which is the kitchen, and then we have the bathroom on that side, and then we have the office, living room, which we are in right now, and then the bedroom, which we filmed a lot of videos in the bedroom. So if you watch our vlogs, you kind of get the layout of our apartment because we like walk through.
We walk through our apartment sometimes, but I mean, in terms of price, like how do we afford it? Living in New York is not cheap, but having said that, we are basically paying very similar to the same rent that we got when we moved in here 7 years ago. It hasn't changed a lot, and for New York prices, we're paying not a lot.
Yeah, I think compared to all of our friends that live in New York City, I think we pay the least out of every single person that we know.
And also, I think that like when I look at other people's apartments, we have the most space. We have the most rooms. We're the only people that have an office.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like having said all of that, we have a good deal. We love living here, which is why we haven't left yet. We have 0 amenities, like literally 0 amenities. We have one closet.
One closet in the entire apartment, not just like one closet in your bedroom. Like, there is only one closet in our entire
apartment. Like, we've created other space with like furniture and just like being smart, but like we don't have anything high tech. We wash our dishes by hand. We don't have a dishwasher. We don't have laundry.
We don't have a doormat. I mean,
No
we don't have a
doormat.
balcony. We have a fire escape, but we don't have a balcony.
Yeah, we don't even have like one of those like intercoms where it shows like who the person is there, and like the sound doesn't really work, so I never can hear who's coming in. I'm always like, buzz buzz. So I feel like we are paying for what we have. We live in an old building.
Very old building. Like, our heater comes on, sounds like a demon is like coming out from the ground.
Yeah,
from the depths of hell. But
yeah,
I think it's very common in New York to live in an old building. Some people even like prefer it. I mean, I like living in an old building.
So long story short, we've been here for 7 years. We love our apartment, and I feel like we are not planning on moving unless we like got a really good deal or got any of the amenities that we mentioned above. If not, it doesn't really make sense. I mean, we travel a lot, and we like our apartment. It has like good light, good vibes, and like when we're home a lot.
But I also think that like a lot of times, like even for me, I'll see on TikTok like all these influencers who live in New York City and have all these fancy buildings with like floor to ceiling windows and like, you know, a package room and like all this stuff. Like, we don't have any of that. We are like just like normies, well, like normies living in New York City.
Yeah,
that's us.
we're
We're
just
just
normal.
like normies living in New York. We're not like, we don't have any of that fancy stuff that most people have that you might see on TikTok for a New York City apartment.
And I do think, like, especially if you're seeing New York City apartments like on TikTok, they show it as like one thing, like, oh, look at me with like my one room that costs $4,000 and I live in this like fancy building like in Soho. Like, I mean, obviously that's going to cost more money. We live in Brooklyn.
Yeah,
like, we're locals, and like for us, like, we're happy with what we have.
Yeah,
but the point is,
apartment.
New York can be affordable if you do it right.
Exactly. Okay, and then the last question that we're going to answer is, what is a TV show that you have been watching or liking lately? Gabby and I like tend to watch a lot of TV shows like when we're home
And when we're working.
because we like to have like something on in the background. So recently we've been rewatching Bones, which is a show that both of us watched like when it was like on TV, like I don't know, it was like maybe like 10 years ago or less than that. I don't know how long ago it was on.
It's so good though.
It's so good.
Shanna and I randomly watched one episode, and then we watched like another, and then we were like, should we just rewatch the show?
Yeah, we need to start from the beginning, basically.
It's so good for like when we're working too, because we both seen it before. So I feel like when you're like working from home and you want to like have a show on, I don't always want to be paying full attention, but I feel like Bones is perfect because there's certain episodes where I can kind of like pay a little attention and do work stuff, or pay not a lot of attention, and then there's other ones where I'm like, I have to watch this episode right now.
And then the other thing is that currently there is Love Island All-Stars season 2 is airing. For us it's on Peacock, but it's really like the UK version.
Yeah, like it's Love Island UK.
It's Love Island
not
UK.
Love Island US. Just
It's Love Island. Yeah, it's Love Island UK All-Stars, which means it's like they bring in people who have been on Love Island UK before but are still currently single, and they put them on the villa,
which is so good
because I feel like I actually might even like All Stars better than like the OG Love Island, because like, you know all the people already, and then they also know each other too, so sometimes there's even like more drama because the people like already know each other. So that's like our like binge comfort kind of show to like be like, oh my god, like we'll turn our brains off and like just watch. Like, I love that. So I think that's gonna be it for our little life update Q&A. Hopefully you learned a little something about us that you didn't know before. But if you have any more questions, or you guys want to know anything else, just like leave them in the comments down below, and then we can always do another one of these. I feel like these are really fun to film because I always like knowing what people want to know about us and like our relationship or travels or whatever. So thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We will see you soon with another video.
Bye.